All right, so let's go to this book, the Sefer, which is called Mitzvot HaShem, and it lists all of the commandments which are found in each and every one of the Torah portions. And in this week's Torah reading, there are, this week's Torah reading, we said that there are 24 commandments, 24 commandments. We already went through a few of them, but let's go through them, a couple of them again. And this today we'll stop at a couple of the commandments. We'll examine a few of the commandments, interpersonal, monetary commandments. Here we go. Let's look. Let's have a look and see. 1 minute. How do we do this over here? You have to go back. Yeah, here it is. Bahar, we said, remember we said yesterday, we did these a couple of days, 3 commandments. Negative commandment, not to work on the ground. Not to work on the ground in Israel. And to work on the ground in the 7th year. Like it says, V'shana Shvi'it Sadacha Lo Tizra. Negative commandment. That's a negative commandment. Second negative commandment. Not to do any work on your trees in the 7th year. Another negative commandment. Not to harvest any of the growth that grows, even if it's on its own. On the 7th year, everyone can come and pick on their own. You can't make a regular harvest. Negative commandment. Here we have 4 commandments. Negative commandment, do not pick the trees, the fruits of the trees in the 7th year. So you're not allowed to harvest from the ground or from the trees also. 2 more commandments. So that leaves 10. We had 14, right? No, we said 24. 24 commandments. Okay, so that's 4 of them. Now we have 20 more. Positive commandment. The great court of 71 members in Jerusalem, in like the outer room of the Holy Temple, the courtyard of the Holy Temple, as they have to count 7 years. 7 years, 7 times, 49 years. 1 commandment. Another commandment, positive commandment. On the 50th year, on Yom Kippur, they have to sound the shofar. They have to sound the shofar in the whole land. This is, first of all, the high court does it. The great grand court, Supreme Court, they do it. And then afterwards, it's gone everywhere. Everyone sounds the shofar on that day of Yom Kippur. And what happens on that day? We said before, that's the Shemitah year, the Yovel year, the 50th year. And that's what it means. Another commandment, a positive commandment, that the great court should declare the 50th year. It's called the Shanat Yovel. Yovel, says Rashi, because of the trumpet of the shofar sound. The sound is also a Yovel. And remember the Ramban said that Yovel goes off the ram that comes from. But we didn't learn that yesterday. We didn't learn. Negative command, 3 more negative commandments. Don't work on the ground. Let's do any agricultural work in the Jubilee year as well. So when the Jubilee year comes, the previous year was also a Shemitah year, so we didn't work on the year before and also on that year. Negative commandment, not to pick any fruits or work on the, not to work on your land. Same thing as in the Shemitah year, but this is the Jubilee year. Another negative commandment, not to gather fruits. Not to gather fruits, not to gather your crops on this Jubilee year, the same thing. Next law, you have to judge the laws of business. You have to have a high court, and the high court has to judge all laws of business. And this is to know when a sale is good, when a sale is not good, right? To sell ground, real estate, etc. the court has to decide. It's a positive commandment for the court to sit and decide monetary proprietary issues. Negative commandment, not to fool one the other. People should not trick one another. This is a big commandment over here. It's going to have a lot of commentary over here. Not to cheat one another. Negative commandment from the Torah, right? Negative commandment. It prohibits cheating. What does cheating mean? Overcharging. Overcharging. Even though that he transgresses in a negative commandment, nevertheless, a person does not get beaten for this commandment. There's no lashes. Why? Because you can return back the amount that you cheated the other person out of. How much is cheating? More than 1/6. And there was something that was worth, let's say, $600. You cheat the person. You tell it. You say it's not worth 6. It's only worth 5. You cheat him. How much you're selling your car for? 600. Oh, that's not what it says in the books. In the books it says 5. You lied. You took 1/6 too little, or you cheated the person out of 1/6. Doesn't make any difference if he charged you too much, or you managed to whittle him down by one. To lower the price. If you did it by false means, then the sale is no good. You have to you have to return the money. If you return the money, then the sale is good. It says, or for instance, something that was worth 7, he cheated you out of it and he bought it for 6, or something that was worth 5 and you sold it to him for 6, or it was worth 6, you sold it to him for 7. In any case, so he says, oh, so not like I said, the sale is good, but the person has to give back the money. He has to give back the money. So if you can't say, okay, I'll give you back the money. You say, you know what, give me back the whole thing and forget it. No, you agreed, you gave him the money. You have to pay back the amount that was cheated out of the person, and the sale is still good. Sale is still good. If they made the agreement. Okay, if it's less than that, even a little bit, if you cheated a person even a little bit, so then the law is, if it's more than 1 pruta, which a pruta is something like a dime or something like that, then you have to give back the money. Of course, you cheated the person out, but in this case, it's not a sin from the Torah, only from the rabbis. And if it's less than this, if it's less than a dime, a dinar, how much ever a dinar is worth. Some people say, okay, some people say a pruta. Okay. In any case, then you don't have to give it back, because if it's a little bit less than that, you know that it's less than a dime or whatever the amount is, then you know that the other person is not going to care. He'll give it back to you, and etc. There's more laws about this. More details in this law. One second, let me see. Okay, yeah, we'll do one more and then we'll go to the Chumash, the source. Oh. A negative commandment, not to okay, whole note. Excuse me 1 minute. There we go. Oh. Not to make a person suffer with words. Here you're making a person suffer. The previous one is you were cheating him out of money. But here it means you're not supposed to cheat him with words, with speaking. Like it says, Lo toneh it ish et amito. You shouldn't say, what does that mean? We're talking not monetary matters. First is a person that was a sinner and he changed himself. He said, okay, I'm not going to do any more bad things. I'm changing myself. You can't say to him, Zachor Masach Rishonim. Oh, you say to him, hey, Shmerel, right? All of a sudden you're a big tzaddik. Remember what you did just last year? I remember I saw you, what you did in the discotheque over there, what you did, right? You're not supposed to do that to a person. Ola ben Gerim, or for instance, a person who is a convert or a child of convert. Remember what your father did. I remember your father used to eat, right, the pork, and then, or to ask a person that's, doesn't know the answer, purposely to ask him questions that he doesn't know how to answer in order to make him look foolish, or to just, even if it's between you and him, to make him feel bad, or similar things like that. A person that talks bad about the other person to his face, in other words, he makes the other person feel bad by his speech. This is a negative commandment. But of course, there's certain sins which a person does not get beaten for, and one is if there's no action. So there's no lokim. Again, the idea of lashes is a punishment that you have to have two witnesses, and the person that does the sin has to be warned and has to do the sin immediately afterwards. So it's almost impossible to apply lashes as well. Here, there's no lashes anyway, because you didn't do anything, you just said. If you're talking about a convert, though, there's an additional negative commandment over here, and that is you're not allowed to cause anguish to a convert. Converts, you have to be treated with special care, right? Because they came from a strange background, and they haven't got any friends, and they haven't got any family to back them up, etc. So you have to be. The same thing is also says with orphans and widows, also the same thing, because they haven't got anyone to back them up. So you have to be very careful not to cause them any anguish or pain by speech. Okay, a negative commandment, not allowed. This is only at the time of the temple. This is land of Israel. This is only at the time of the temple. You're not allowed to sell land in the land of Israel forever. Forever. Yet it goes back to the tribe where it came from in the Jubilee year. Okay, also, that's what it says. That's the negative commandment. The negative commandment, you cannot sell forever. Positive command, you have to give the land back to the original owner in the 50th year. Then if you sell houses in a city, there's a wall around the city from the time that the Jews entered in other words, what is it, so all 3,000 something 300 years ago, then you have to give it back to the person after 1 year. Okay, those are laws which are not implied. Only in the time of the Yovel, this is done. All right, let's go to let's do one more. We'll do one more. And then we'll go to the Chumash. Okay, the Levites get 48 cities. You have to not change those cities that they're given. Right? These cities, they can't sell them, and etc. The city. Negative commandment. You're not allowed to loan money. They're not allowed to loan money to a Jew with interest. Whether we're talking about money, food, or anything else. You can't say, I'll give you 10 hot dogs today, tomorrow you give me 11 hot dogs. Like it says, okay, this is where we're going to stop today, and we'll learn some of these laws. You're not allowed to. By a non-Jew, it is yes permissible. Some people say it is mandatory to take interest from a loan. It doesn't say how much, but taking interest is a very logical thing. It really doesn't make any sense not to take interest, because I have my money and I'm giving my money to someone else, and he's going to make a profit from the money. Why shouldn't I be partners with a profit? Not only that, in the time when I give him my money, I can't make any profit from that money. I can't invest it. I can't buy things with it. I'm suffering, and I'm also losing. Right? I'm losing money by giving another person money. How can I just give him money and say, and he makes a profit and I don't get anything out of it? How can I do it? So I said, no, why do it that way? Lend him, and like the banks, lend him money, and he's got to pay you back a certain amount. I don't care how much profit he makes, right? I'll give him $1 million. I don't care if he makes $1 billion, but I want on that $1 million, I want 10% every month or 10% every year, whatever you get from the money. That's pretty logical. Says you're right, it is logical. But if you're dealing with a Jew, you can't. The law is you're not allowed to take interest. How they do it in banks is a whole different story, a whole long thing. It's like you go into partnership with them, and it's a nevertheless, from the main law, you're not allowed to take interest. So let's look in the Chumash and see where these laws come from. Good. Let's have a look. There we go. And this is the law we just learned about. You're not supposed to cheat in business, and you have to have courts decide all monetary laws. If you sell something to your friend or you buy something from your friend, you cannot cheat. One person cannot cheat his friend, the other person. Okay, this next law is according to the number of years after the Jubilee year, you buy from your friend. The number of harvests he's selling to you. Okay, so simply what this means is it's talking about, don't sell someone land. Let's say this land belongs to you forever. And really, it doesn't belong to you. The Jubilee year is going to be in 2 more years, and the land goes back, right? So I sell my land to someone. I say, this land belongs to you forever, $1 million. And it's for your children. Comes the Jubilee year next year, I can't give me the land back. They say, you said it was supposed to be forever. He says, well, that's what when the Torah says forever, in this case, forever leads me to, that says, the olam, it says forever, says by a servant, says he'll be yours forever. It doesn't mean forever. It means till the 50th year, same thing with land. So give me back the land. Hey, you cheated me. But that's not really the meaning. We'll see. That's the fact. I mean, you can't cheat, but this is talking about portable things. We'll see. And the simple meaning is, like we said, you're not allowed to cheat people in business. There's a drush, says the Rashi, like this, that how do you know that if you sell things, you should try to sell to another Jew, right? Your fellow man. The Torah says, it says, sell it to your friend. Machor, you should sell only to a fellow Jew. How do you know that if you buy something, you should buy from a Jew? It says, okone. It says, or you come out, okone, or if you buy, you should buy from a Jew. That's okay. The OrHaChaim says, and it's a little bit more complicated than that. In fact, it says in Torah Kahanim. Torah Kahanim is a midrash on Vayikra. It's also called Sifra. It says, Menaim, how do you know that there is no cheating in land? Right? If you tell someone that this land is worth $50 million and it's not worth $50 million, and the person pays you the $50 million, there's nothing, it's not a crime. Why is it not a crime? Because land, everyone knows the value of. It's a thing that everybody knows what the value is. It's very, very difficult to cheat people on land. You go and ask, you see this plot of land, if a person's trying to sell a car, right? So what do you have to? You have to bring somebody and look at the car and have to check the car. But land, everyone knows where the land is. You can go, so it's any case, the law is that there's no cheating in land, no matter how much you charge. If the person gives you the money, then according to Torah law, that it's not considered that you gained that money illegally. The Torah says, "O konem miyad." It has to be something that you can. It says konem miyad, that you can buy from hand to hand, right, etc. Okay, so it says, but nevertheless, there are a lot of laws that do relate to the ground that you could, for instance, like we just said before, you trick a person and the person doesn't know the law, and you tell him you're selling it to him forever, and really you're only selling it to him until the Jubilee year. So that's coming back. Also, another thing is, let's say I sell someone land, right? I sell someone land, and really I owe somebody else $1 million, and I can't pay back. Right? Now I sell you land, I sell you my land, and say this land belongs to you. Let's say even nowadays, I sell him the land. No, now the person that I owe money to says, Rabbi Bolton, you have the money? I said, no, I don't have the money. I don't have anything. I'm really sorry, So wait till I says, 1 second. You had that big plot of land. I said, oh yeah, the big plot of land, but I just sold that yesterday. So he can say, listen, you had no right to sell that land. That land was on lien for my loan. So I say, well, if you want to, go and take it from the person I sold it to. I'm sorry, I didn't know, right? And he takes it from that person. The person comes back to me and say, hey, why didn't you tell me yesterday that there was a lien on that land? I forgot. It just wasn't in my mind. So give me my money back. Of course, what's the question? I'll give you the money back. Just so happens I don't have any money now. So I just changed this guy that I owed him for a year. And now he took the land back. And now I owe to this other person, right? I owe him only a few days. What's the big deal? But he didn't want to loan me the money. He bought the land. I cheated him on land. So there is a certain case of cheating as far as land goes. And that refers to here also. Says the Kli Yakar, the rabbis say that this is talking about something that is bought from hand to hand. And which is, it takes land out of the question. It says, but the fact is, so legally, technically, there is no cheating as far as land goes. If I sell someone a piece of land that's worth $1 million and I sell it for $2 million, there is none. And here he proves that yes, there is sometimes that there is. It says, Lamas, sometimes land becomes suddenly valuable. So it says, I'm sorry. Why? Because portable things, let's go back. Portable things, they don't have a standard value. They change from time to time. Sometimes they get more valuable, sometimes less valuable. So therefore, it's nothing known. But land, even though that you sell it, let's say, cheaper than what's worth, the person who buys it from you is very good. He drives the price down. But nevertheless, the time, eventually it will come time that the value will be worth what the person paid for, right? In other words, land is not a thing that rots or it devaluates or whatever, but portables, you can worry maybe in some time, maybe there won't be any more and you'll have the only one that there is, right? Maybe you'll have the only, the Thunderbird car that there is in the world. It'll be worth a lot of money, or maybe not, but land always is there. So it's always, that's why it's called real estate. It's real, it's permanent. So that's the reason why. Okay, you have to, according to the years after the Jubilee, you sell the land. If it's a lot of land, you sell. If it's a lot of time. So in other words, if I have a plot of land, we're talking now in the time when there was the Jubilee, there isn't now. Jubilee is only when all the Jews are in Israel and there's a holy temple. So there's the Jubilee year, the 50th year. So 50th year, all the land goes back to the owner. So if I have land, and I sell it to someone, the land has to come back to me. Comes back to me at the end of 50 years. So as a result, whenever that 50th year comes, if I sell someone land, so I can only sell it for that many years until the Jubilee comes. The Jubilee year comes. So if it's 2 years before the Jubilee year, so I only sell for that time. And he says only according to the harvests that are on that land. But really it means even if it's not the harvests. Even if I'm selling the land, let's say to build on it or to. So therefore it's very difficult if you want to build on land. That's the way it used to be. So if you want to build on the land, so you wouldn't be able to build anything permanent. You could only build on your own personal lands. Okay. A person should not fool his friend. And this we learned, this is talking about in words. You're not allowed to pain, cause anguish to someone else, and you should fear for God because I am God, your God. What does it mean? Khan Here it's talking about, says Rashi explains, here it's talking about paining someone, cheating somebody just in words alone. In other words, you're not stealing anything, you're not taking anything from him, but you are embarrassing the person or making him feel bad, making the person feel bad. Right? You go to a convert and say your relatives, they used to eat bugs and who knows what and rabbits, things like that. Now all of a sudden you're learning Torah. You're going to tell me what to do. You're not allowed to do that. You're not supposed to make a person feel bad. Another thing is, don't give false advice to a person. Right? Don't say to a person, right? Someone comes over to you, says, I want to sell my car. It's a really terrible shape. Says, don't worry, I got exactly. They say, don't give a sucker an even break. I got exactly the person. I go to some person, a Jew that I know is a very simple guy. He doesn't know business. And I say, listen, I hear you want to buy a car. And I got the car for you. What a deal. Right? And I'm cheating him. I'm telling him, I'm giving him bad advice. I don't get anything out of it. But I give him advice that's not good. There's all this terrible thing which is called in the world, which is a sick thing. I cannot figure out how people get pleasure from this, except maybe for Nazis. I imagine that this must be a big, happy thing for Nazis, and it's called practical jokes. Practical jokes, that you enjoy someone else's pain or embarrassment or shame, right? You get pleasure out of someone else's misfortune. A more sick thing, I can't imagine what it is. People used to send me things like this. I cannot see how you can laugh at someone else's anguish. Okay, in any case, you're not allowed to do it. You can't give a person a bad advice so that he'll buy a wrong thing, right? Give him advice to buy the Brooklyn Bridge or something. The Im Tomar, if you say, who's going to know what my intention was, right? Hey, I didn't know that car was not good. I mean, there's all times that people give advice and it doesn't come out good. Brokers and in the stock market, I think it's a good idea. You should buy, now is a good time to buy, potatoes. And it happens to be that some of the potatoes go, it happens, people give advice that doesn't come out good. It happens. How do you know if I intended to do bad or not? Therefore, it says, you have to fear God. God knows what your thoughts are, and God knows what your intentions are. Anything that's given to the heart, the only I know what the truth is, and God knows what the truth is. That's what it says, you should fear for God. God knows if your intention was cruelty or if it was innocent. I'm sorry, I didn't know any better. So that's OrHaChaim HaKadosh. That's what he says. You should fear for God, because what does it mean? God says, I am the judge. I judge you to know. Okay, here he's he's referring back to the thing about land. We say that in fact the law is in Judaism that there's no cheating when it comes to land. When it comes to land, I know that the land is worth $50 and I tell somebody else that it's worth $100. There's no cheating. That's the way the law goes. Doesn't make sense, but it is. That's the way the law is. So it says, okay, I don't get punished. So it says, yeah, you don't get punished by people, but God knows what's going on. God knows that your intentions were evil intentions. There's a lot of laws that we find in the Torah that God took away the judgment from people, and he gave it over to the judgment, what's called the heavenly court. Look what I wrote in Parshas Mishpatim, says the OrHaChaim. I wrote it. Why is it a lot of times that a person will sell something for 100 and he'll sell it for 50? Or the opposite, he'll sell something for 50, and then there's the buyer, he does the cheating, or sometimes the seller does the cheating, and etc. And he does it for some other reason, to entice the other person, right? To buy something. A lot of times that happens where they oh, just one moment. Good. And then, so the OrHaChaim, that's what he's saying. These things, when sometimes people make mistakes, and sometimes people pretend they make mistakes, and sometimes people cheat each other. They cheat someone else, and the other person never knows about it. Right? He never finds out that he was cheated. But who's going to know about this? He says God knows about it. Don't worry. God will take care of it, and He knows what's happening. I know there's people that pretend to be your friend. And sometimes people come and they'll pretend to be your friend, and they pretend they're helping you. And in fact, they're not trying to help you at all. They're trying to do bad things, negative things, right? There's traitors. Who knows if the person says, listen, I didn't know any better. He says, don't worry, God knows about it. And eventually it comes around, right? God never remains a debtor, whether for good or for the opposite. A person that does something good, God repays them. A person that does something bad, somehow or other, a person gets repaid. I mean, okay, let's not go into that too much. So it says, you should do my laws and keep them, and then you will sit, the land of Israel will be sure, certain. If the Jewish people keep the laws in the land of Israel, then they'll stay in the land of Israel. If they don't, then they get evicted. That's what happened. We see this happen. And we're seeing a very interesting thing today, especially that religious Jews are coming to Israel, and non-religious Jews are not coming to Israel, and non-religious Jews are leaving Israel, because the situation here is very, very shaky. You know, we have an army. They don't let the army do here. They just yesterday, they caught 2 Arabs that murdered 2 people in cold blood, innocent, unsuspecting people in Elad. But they just went there and they killed people. And they killed 3 people. And they hid away, and they found them, and they treated them nice, right? The police, they surrendered, and they gave him cigarettes and water, and they took him, and one guy broke his leg, and then afterward they'll put them into prison for a while, 18 years, something, and then they'll get out. And when they're in prison, they can learn and get, degrees and things like that. Really good. So you're in such a situation where they encourage murder. So who's going to live in a place like that? So the answer is the religious people. The religious people come here because it's a holy land. Land is a holy place. It's a place for Jews. So there's more and more people. So that's what it says. The people that are not religious sort of throws them out. Not only that, there's a lot of people that are becoming observant Jews in Israel, despite the efforts of the Israeli government to bring all these missionaries and these decadents and things like that. But nevertheless, the fact is that more and more people are becoming, realizing that the God of Israel is good. And that it's a good thing to live in the land of Israel, the Holy Land. It's a holy land. Okay, ready, let's go. So the land will give its fruits, and you'll stay on the land of Israel in certainty. And if you want to say, what am I going to eat if I keep this, the 7th year? So what am I going to eat in the 7th year? I didn't plant anything. What am I going to eat? I mean, usually you have to. So God said, don't worry, I'm going to give my blessing in the 6th year. So then the 7th year, you're going to have enough for that. And also for 3 years, you're going to have enough for the 6th year and for the 7th year when you're not planting. And also for the beginning of the 8th year. The 8th year, which is, there's no produce from the 7th year. And sometimes you're going to have for 4 years. The 6th year will produce enough when it's a Jubilee year. So you have to have enough for that 6th year. The produce for the 6th year you eat in that year. The 7th and 8th year, you don't do any planting. So you have to have food for that. And the 9th year, the beginning of the 9th year at least, so Yeah, you're supposed to eat from the previous years, and there was no food in the previous years. You didn't plant. It says, don't worry about it. The 6th year is going to have enough for all of the years. God provides. God is the provider. He provides for everything. That's why idolatry is so bad, because God is providing for everyone. And how can you be ingrate and give your loyalty to God and something else, or to some other God, whatever? Okay. Let's go now. Here we go to another law. Made a mistake. 1 second. 1 minute. There we go. The land you should not sell forever, because the land belongs to me, says God. It says God. The land belongs to me. You're just temporary dwellers. You are here with me. The land does not belong to the Jews. The land of Israel does not belong to the Jews. The land of Israel belongs to God. If it belongs to the Jews, then we can give it away, which they're trying to do very desperately. Give as much of it away as possible. But the fact is, it does not belong to the Jews. I remember Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu, of blessed memory, he said it doesn't belong to the Jews, it belongs to God. So it says the whole land, Geula, will come to the land. Geula, redemption. What does it mean? We're going to have to learn this tomorrow, because there's a very beautiful Ramban over here, and there's also a very nice Kli Yakar. We're going to learn about, and we'll do that tomorrow. Let's now learn the Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot.
Mm-hmm.